It has been a very long time since I have made a working video in the shop. Life's been busy, been doing a lot of stuff outside of actually working in the shop. Haven't really had many projects or side jobs come into the shop this summer, so I was able to take a lot of time off from being out here and doing some more stuff around the house. Getting ready to have a kid here in a month or so, so been really working on the house to get the house ready for that and everything set up, because that's going to be pretty much, I'm going to be stopping what I'm doing once the kid is born. So pretty exciting stuff. We're really excited about it, so we're just been prepping and getting everything ready, and you know, our first kid, so yeah, we're just going the extra mile, make sure we're ready for that. So I've been taking a lot of time away from actually working and getting stuff done around the house in regards to that. So sorry about being away, but I have been really busy. Just not, like I said, just not a lot of stuff coming in. I've not taken in a lot of stuff. I've actually have told a lot of people I won't do their project just because of a number of reasons, but I've told more people off than I have taken jobs in. If I've taken something in, it's been really small, so not really worth showing on that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I have been working on a little bit of the Honda Civic here. The 2000 Civic. You guys might have seen it in the other videos. If you're new to the channel, we do nothing but paint here. This is my personal car. It's been sitting for almost 2 years. I did the body work on it, tore it apart a couple years ago, and it's just been pushed off to the side over in the corner over here because I've been doing other things. As far as customers' projects come first, mine come last. It's just how it is once you're doing this full time, because you got to be able to turn money, and then you take your money and you work on your own stuff with it. So it's just nature of the beast. So yeah, I pulled it out because right now the Mazda, I have the Mazda, it's been here for a couple of weeks, but this has actually been put on hold, and it's going to go away to the customer's garage for a little bit, because he's getting a full frame built for this thing. He's going to body drop it, so the floor is going to get cut out, raised up. Some of the interior is going to change. It's going to be custom. The bed's got to get redone just because how nasty it is from the guy that did it before. So another fabricator is going to cut all that out and redo all this, because it's just so messed up. It's not even, you can't even use it. It's so far gone. He just warped it and the welds, and it's just nasty. So really set this thing back, because that guy had it for about 10 months. So if you haven't seen the video before that, it'll explain all this. But since this was on hold, I pulled this out and actually started cutting, actually got the quarter glasses cut out on both ends over here. And that's what we're kind of doing today. The next thing I need to do is cut out the back glass. So I'm gonna walk you guys through, if you've never, or if you're curious or you've never done it, or you're wanting to do it on your own vehicle. All cars, besides, you know, you get into the older cars, are all roped in. Like this truck, the back window's all roped in. But on this newer cars and things like that, this is a 2000, it's not really new, but most of these cars, everything is urethaned in. So you got to cut it all out. There's multiple tools you can buy to do so. If you really want to spend the money and get some expensive tools to cut all this out to make your life easier. But me, I just bought a, I think this is like a 14-inch blade. Bought some blades with it, and I just went through and cut everything out by hand. Yes, it's a lot more time consuming. It takes a lot more effort than most tools you can buy, but like I said, if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars, sometimes even thousands, depending on what tool you're actually buying, some of those tools are getting really expensive, because some of them are pneumatic and electric. So you can get really crazy with buying tools to cut glass out. But this thing is tried and true. As long as you have the ability and the effort to do so, you can cut anything out. The quarter glasses were kind of my test panels to do, and they came out pretty good. I did end up cutting through the edge on one of these on this because I went too far on the blade, but these needed replaced anyways because they're nasty and grody. It's just the molding that goes around the window. They call them reveal moldings, and that thing, I mean, this car is from 2000, so they're just trashed. They've been on there for long. It's just sun faded. Some of it's cracking along here, so they just need replaced. And once I found out that I can actually buy those brand new from Honda, about $120 a piece, so they are expensive, but since I'm going this far with the car, it needs new moldings anyways, so we're gonna not really worried about that. But like I said, we're gonna move on to this back window here, and this thing I already know is rotted out on this side because there is water that leaks inside the trunk on this, so I'm really curious to see what's underneath this glass when I get it cut out. For some reason on this side somewhere, water is leaking inside the trunk. So I used to daily this car every day. That's how I know that every time it rained, it pretty much had the trunk full of water if it was just standing around outside and not being driven. So somewhere inside of here, it is leaking, and my guesses are it's probably the pinch weld that holds the panels together is either rusted out somewhere, or maybe it's got a crack somewhere, or it's the urethane underneath of it's got a crack in it or a hole to where it's leaking in, to where it's going past the glass, or it's the seam sealer that's going up underneath the window and the trunk pan area to the back pan of the car back here, where all the speakers and stuff are back here. In between there, it's got either a crack or something going on. So when you get this thing cut out, find out why it's leaking. This car, I was going to do the seam sealer brand new, grind it all off, put brand new on it anyways, because it is cracking inside of the trunk area. So it's probably the seam sealer is my guess. But yeah, I'm going to put a new blade on this thing, and I'm just going to start cutting. I'm going to show you guys how I go about cutting this stuff out. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to cut this along here. So you want to unhook your defrosters on both sides. If you have defrosters, every car pretty much has defrosters unless it's an old car, on the back window. And I want to say this before I start. This is very dangerous. You're dealing with a really sharp blade on the end of here. So you want to be extremely careful with how you're doing it and not get in a hurry. You don't want it to slip or hit yourself, because these blades will cut you wide open and really hurt you. So you want to get some really thick gloves. I've got some, these are some iCar welding gloves. They're not really good as far as working with them, but they will protect my hands if that blade does slip and hit me or somewhere. And then usually I grab a hammer in those hard to reach areas that that need a little bit more oomph. I'll use the hammer. So what I'll usually do is, like on this back window here, I'll actually work from the top down. I don't want to bring the blade to me. I want to go away from myself. So I want to get positioned here, because it does take a lot of strength to do this. So what I usually do is try to find a sweet spot. And what that'll do is allow you to go inside that urethane and you just got to work at it. Like it is not going to happen really fast. And what you really don't want to do is hit the glass. This is super tough. It's super tough. There we go. Find that sweet spot. And if you get in an area where you're kind of stuck, kind of like where I'm in right here, I usually, if I can get it out, put it back in, and go at it some more. Usually if you try to wiggle it, it will help tremendously to get it in there and start going. But this is no joke, it's a lot of work. And I've hit a block. So what I've learned from doing the quarter glasses on this car is that when I am hitting a block to where it's not cutting, because you can feel it sliding against that urethane. If you get a fresh blade and it's really sharp, you can feel it gliding and cutting that urethane inside. So on the quarter glasses, I hit a block 2 times. And what that was there's actually a plastic clip that is urethane to the window, and it clips into the car. There's 2 of them on each of the quarter glasses. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult because I can't see inside of there really well. So I'm going to have to work my way around it. If this back window has clips in it, just like the quarter glass, where it's 1 on each side or 2 on each side or whatever it is, it may not have them. It might just be a big old glob of urethane that is caked up and it's just super thick and hard to cut through. But you can usually see inside of and look to see if there's clips or anything holding it in that are urethane to the window, because you got to get in between them to cut. And you don't really want to try to push on the glass at all, because that's how glass breaks. So you want to get to where you're about, I would say about 90% of where the glass is actually cut completely, and then you can start kind of putting pressure on the sides to see where it's lifting up and is actually cut loose, and then cutting the rest of that's not loose out. So you never want to come in here and start cutting and start pressing, because it'll crack instantly. So I've got this side almost cut. I can feel it. And the corners The edges where everything's rounded off is usually a really pain because everything is globbed up right there too. So it's just something you got to go and work back and forth on and just figure out how farther you need to cut. Obviously, if you're replacing glass and not painting the car like I am, you want to be careful to where your blade's not sticking out on the other side and cutting into the metal, because you don't want to ruin your paint. So there's a lot of things you gotta be careful about on this, because it is really hard and it's really dangerous to do it by hand. But if you want to spend the extra money and buy the tool where you can rope it and it'll cut it for you by roping it, or buy the knife that has a pneumatic electric with it, go ahead and do that. But you also got to worry about cutting into your car. So there's a lot of things you got to worry about no matter how you're doing it. But I'm going to continue cutting the rest of this out, and I'll bring you guys back to where it's majority of it's cut out so you can see what I'm talking about. So I've worked back and forth, the top, the sides, probably 4 or 5 times to get everything cut. You gotta remember, this stuff is really thick inside of here. And then, like, the older the car, the harder it's probably gonna be as far as the urethane goes. If it's fresh, it's not too bad, but if it's been on the car for a long time, it's probably really, really hard and stiff. So if you have a heat lamp or anything like that, go ahead and throw it on the glass. Don't get it too close, just want to heat up the edge, and it'll soften that urethane up a little bit. So I went, like I said, I went back and forth, worked on it, and I finally got the top half, pretty much the whole thing almost besides the bottom part, all cut off. So I'm going to show you guys what you need to look for when this stuff starts releasing. Is if you can pull on it, don't want to put too much pressure on it because you'll break the glass, but you just want to make sure you go around the edges of where you cut and just want to give it a tug, and if it moves at all, that means you got it released. Now this glass is still pretty in there even though I cut more than half of it out. The bottom half is what holds it all together now. So it's gonna be really hard to get that bottom out, but just want to show you guys. And it's not easy. It's gonna take you some time. I've worked on this probably for a good 40 minutes. So if you got a heat lamp, like I said, that'll help you out, soften that urethane up a little bit. But I'm gonna try to get the back of this done back here. It's just that there's a lip. The way this is made, it's not necessarily sitting on this. It's actually, there's a lip inside of the pinch weld sits on, and that's where it's urethane to. So I'm gonna have to try to work some magic. But the further along you get it, you can kind of start releasing it, and it'll just kind of pop up by itself. Just don't put a lot of pressure on it because it will break. I just want to show you guys what you need to look for. Alright, so we got the glass out. Let me grab you guys and show you. Alright, so we got it all cut out. So this is the carnage left over. And right here, this corner gave me fits for a while. So it looks like on this car there's little tabs that were glued in with the soft sponge on top. But I am trying to locate why this trunk leaks, and I'm guessing it's this right here, because there's no unless I cut that out, there's no sealer there anymore, or urethane. See, this side's got a lot in that area. So unless I cut that piece out, I think that's probably where it was leaking. Had to have been, because it's not rusted, nothing. There's a sliver right there too on that metal. I wonder, I don't know. Pretty strange, but yeah. Got it all cut out. Couple scratches on the window tint itself, but other than that, we're going to retint these windows anyway, so I'm not really worried about that tint. And then we're going to replace this. Like I said, we're going to replace all these moldings around this window, so I'm not really worried about that either, since they're so corroded. And when stuff starts to heat up for a long time, this stuff gets brittle and it starts breaking down. So I wonder if that's another problem why. See, like right here, this is that corner that was leaking. You can see it's got all corroded from something, and it's brittle. So it could have been just this, this wasn't sealed off anymore. So yeah, so the next thing you want to do is take a razor blade by hand and just clean most of this urethane off and get it nice and smooth as much as you can. When the window gets installed, when we're completely done, they will go around and shave off the rest of it anyway. So what I'll do is I'll shave most of it off, you know, back tape it, probably grind this all down to bare metal to make sure there's nothing underneath of this. It doesn't look like it, but this spot right here is kind of weird. So I might just grind all this back down to bare metal, epoxy it too before I paint it. That way everything's brand new. Don't have to worry about anything. But that's it, guys. Yeah, I mean, I broke a lot of blades getting that back window. I broke a ton. I've got a few left over for the front window, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna take as many blades as the back as the front, because it's pretty much the same window. This one's just doesn't have that much curve in it as the back window does. So yeah, I'm gonna call it quits there for this video. Yeah, we're gonna start tearing this thing down more. I gotta take some stuff off the front to get the front window out, like the cowl panel and things like that, before I cut that one out. I'll just go ahead and do that off video. And once I get the front window cut out, we're gonna start test fitting the parts, like the bumpers, side skirts. Some of this stuff needs more love. And we're gonna start modifying some of this stuff. I haven't completely decided what I'm gonna do as far as whether I'm gonna put a full body kit on it, or I'm gonna repair the side skirt and the rear bumper and put that back on there. They're just stock. I mean, they're what came on the car when the car was made, so they would fit the best. But I'm gonna put a lot of work. I've put a lot of work into this already, but I was gonna go down the road of wide bodying it, but I thought I'm gonna drive this all the time around these country roads. It's gonna get beat up really quick, and having a lot of fiberglass on the car isn't ideal for where I live. So I think I'm just gonna go back and just start mocking everything up, like the front bumper, making sure that stuff fits really tight with the fenders and the hood and the grill. I'm gonna try to modify and mold this grill into this bumper as well. So this is an aftermarket grill, so I'm gonna cut this out, and then I'm gonna mold this to this bumper. This bumper is polyurethane. It's not fiberglass. It's really heavy, and it just sags a lot, and this doesn't really fit in there perfectly. It needs trimmed out from the back side here, and this needs to be molded into this perfectly to make it all fit. But I got to test fit all that stuff once I get all the windows cut out. So we got a little bit of body work to do. The fender, or the side skirt, one of the side skirts I ran over, so they need re-body worked and re-primed. And then the rear bumper sitting over there, it's got a crack in it. So I'm really debating on putting this back on the car and just fixing this crack. It wouldn't be hard to fix it. It's a simple bumper. I ordered an aftermarket, brand new aftermarket one. That's the stock version of that, and it just doesn't fit worth the crap. So I really don't want to go that route. So just some little bit of things here and there, making sure everything fits right, making sure everything is dialed in before we start blocking this car down, and just fixing imperfections on the body that we did not see when we did all the body work a few years ago. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'm going to end it here. So thanks for watching. Comment down below if you would like to see anything special with this. I am going to start incorporating into more of what I do before paint rather than just paint, because a lot of people just don't understand that. They just see us pulling the trigger. So I think incorporating all this into one, to where, you know, you see me doing other things and kind of teaching you guys how to do it, to show you that it's not as bad as what you might think. That way you can start tearing into your own stuff and start doing your stuff the right way, because I'm rebuilding this, and I want this thing to last another 15-20 years. So I want to pass this on to my son when he gets his driver's license, and he can have a really cool car, because this thing's going to be, you know, this thing's going to be a time capsule for me. I mean, he won't be around to grow up and around this, but he's going to help me with this along the way too. So I want to kind of pass it on to him. So yeah, that's the plan with this thing. So we're going to make this thing, you know, we're going to do like a light resto on it and make this thing last another 15-20 years. So I'll take you guys along for the ride, and we'll get this thing done and knocked out this winter. I'll see you guys on the next one.